The following is a production of Fenix Media. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the company or its advertisers and may contain language that's unsuitable for younger listeners. Hello, everybody, and welcome to You Bet Your Ass, a Patreon exclusive podcast where we cover the week's biggest sports bets. Now, we are broadcasting live from the National Automobile Museum in downtown Reno. If you want tickets or information, just head over to automuseum.org. Now, I'm Kristian Fenix, along with, the Tony Romo to my Jim Nance, the G-Man.
I like one of two of those guys.
Tony?
No.
No?
I've never been a Tony Romo fan. I mean, I have to admit that his analysis he gets on some pretty good rolls.
That's what I enjoy about him. Is his analysis is spot on. He tells you what the quarterback is looking for, as opposed to Chris Collinsworth, who basically just spends time gushing over his favorite players.
Yeah. It's the Cowboys thing. I mean, Raiders, Niners fan, so definitely as a Niner fan, I just second favorite team in the NFL is whoever's playing the Cowboys, which is kind of weird.
Slightly biased.
Well, but I mean, what's going to go on with one of the free picks.
Exactly.
So it's kind of weird.
With the free pick.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, let's go ahead and get into things. Obviously, this is the first episode of You Bet Your Ass. We are coming in NFL Week 6, but that doesn't mean that we haven't been tracking the previous weeks. And especially if you followed the Kristian Fenix radio show, you recognize the G-Man from that show where we did 3 of the picks. Well, in this show, we are going to be covering the entire slate of matchups. So with that being said, last week, how did you fare?
Last week, I did not fare very well. It was
an
quite
off week.
Frustrating. Yeah, we were doing very well until the fourth quarters, and everybody can probably relate to that. Anybody that's had a sports better too. But we are a little bit under 50%. For the year. It's been a struggle. I'm not used to this, and not having any excuses. But there were some things, of course, I was involved with Reno Palooza and some events over the summer that definitely took a lot of time. That was it was after week 3 until I could really get into digesting and doing some analysis and stuff like that. So for me, the season is just starting, especially with this being the first show like this.
Well, we came out of a weird COVID season, which nothing went to plan. Obviously, huge changes with teams and quarterbacks and players and coaches this season. So getting back into it, has been a little bit of a learning curve. But, given the last few years that we've been doing this, your average is about, 70%, 75% winning?
Well, I don't know. We started out like that. I would say, some of the best odds, the handicappers in the country, in the world, these guys win contests where they're like 68%, maybe approaching 70. 70 is a tough one, to get over. That's pretty amazing. And what I see is most of the time when people are doing that's at the beginning of the season, as I did last year. And, I think that with what we're doing, as you mentioned, anytime that you're over 50%, that's pretty good, because it's hard enough in the NFL to even pick who's going to win the game.
Right.
Let alone when you start playing with this team's going to win by this much, or and so. But it's fun. It's entertainment.
Yeah, you put in your research, and it more often than not, it pays off. Again, your record is better than 500. So that's why we decided to put this show together as a ongoing subscription-based show, because you're beating even the professional odds makers most of the time.
Yeah, and there are some tools now, as we'll talk about specifically with the in-play. That there's no guarantee, of course, that you're going to be able to say recover your money, but there are some times where I don't know if you've ever had a bet in like the first quarter, you're just like, oh my gosh, I picked the wrong team.
Right.
And most of the time, it does have it ends that way. If you're just starting out super, super bad. Like an example is last week, we laid 7 points with the Ravens, and everybody saw the fourth quarter that they had, but they dug themselves such a hole that just winning the game was amazing, and they still won by 6, in overtime. So we missed it, by a little bit, but you just never know. That's why they play the games. It's all speculation, no different than stocks. Things like that. It's pure speculation, and you're hoping the best thing happens.
Yeah, and it's things that are beyond our control as bettors, which obviously makes it more interesting. There's so many factors that you have to take into account, which actually kind of brings us to a good point to talk about the in-play disclaimer, if you will. Our picks are up to date as of Thursday morning when we're recording this. This broadcast goes out Thursday night, but of course, there's a whole Friday, Saturday in between games. So things can change. People can get injured. So we recommend that, you do in-play betting during the games, obviously through your favorite sports book or sportsbook app. And that way, you're up to the minute with it. But even with that being said, Thursdays when we put these together, they're as educated as humanly possible, and we still fare well.
Yeah, because you got the games were played 3 days before.
Right.
So then 2 days before with the Monday night game, by the time I'm kind of digesting things on Wednesday, and then kind of finalizing things certainly the morning before the show.
Right. So, we like to put those out there, and obviously, the whole purpose behind the show is to inform people, educate people, but it is an entertainment show. So,
yeah,
don't go with your entire life savings to your sports book, put it all down based on what we're saying. Obviously, if you have a gambling problem, seek help, but do it for fun. You know,
absolutely. Basically, the rule of thumb that I was taught is that if you're making a bet at the window or the blackjack table, whatever, that should be money that you're going to count on losing it.
Right.
You should not be doing that. If it's like anything related, it's going to affect your life, relationship, anything like that. It's for entertainment. So much akin to if you can afford to play golf, you know what I mean? Which is another expensive
Very
sport.
expensive, yeah.
Then, hey, good for you. Go play golf. And if you can't, but you still want to get some athletic, kind of, tune-ups and things like that, you want to kind of stay involved in the basketball, spend a little money on a basketball, and then there's all kinds of courses that you can go to.
Yeah.
But and that's probably why we have the $2 tally.
Exactly. And actually, that's a great segue. Each week we're going to be doing the $2 tally, which is basically if you bet $2 on every single pick that we put out there, how you would fare overall in the season. Really sort of set up for the fair weather fan,
Yeah.
And what I'll be doing is I'll be going through and actually betting those $2 on each game. I'll be posting my ticket for everybody to see, as long as you're a Patreon subscriber. And, so you guys will be winning right along with me or losing.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, you don't have to spend an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
If there's 16 games in a week, $2 per game, you're spending $32 a week on a bet that more often than not pays off.
Yeah, exactly. I like it.
And then finally, before we head over to the subscriber-specific breakdowns, we like to give the freebies out there with our kickoff pick. This is going to be the big, surefire pick of the week, at least in the G-Man's eyes. And this week he is going with the Cowboys, plus 3.5 over the Patriots. Don't buy the hook, but, both teams have been interesting this season so far. Cowboys, who had a terrible season last season, Dak Prescott was out most of the time. Ezekiel Elliott really struggled. They've come back around now, and they look very, very good. I mean, they've won by a small margin in a couple of the games. But other than that, they're a pretty solid team. You've got Pollard in the backfield with Elliott sort of sharing snaps, doing well. And then the Patriots, they struggled their first couple of weeks. They had hosted Tampa Bay. Tom Brady came in. They actually did pretty well.
Surprisingly well.
And, Mac Jones looks like he has a good future. Maybe not this season, but that's why you're putting 3.5 points, plus for the Cowboys. Go ahead and break down that matchup and why you place that there and why you think that's a surefire win.
I think again, there's just the first thing like I was telling you about, the eye test. Watching both teams this year, obviously the Cowboys are more, they have a higher scoring offense, and the Patriots have a better defense. And be that as it may, the defense of the Cowboys has actually played a little bit better than I thought that they were going to, especially in the last few weeks. So I just think the offensive firepower at the end of the day, 3.5 points, 4 is a real number, so if they can get to that, that strategically, it makes sense, because then the Patriots are going to have to score a touchdown in order to prevail. But I just think, again, plain and simple, that they're just going to outscore them. I think the offense is balanced. The Cowboys they have a decent defense. Then, in addition to the fact that the Patriots are only scoring, I think, an average of 18 points a game, so they're having a hard time, getting to 20, and the Cowboys are averaging 31 a game.
I mean,
so 3.5 points. That's where it's kind of like, and there is some disconcertment a little bit, because as you saw, there's some people that are out there, CBS Sports, that have they're around the 70%. Mm-hmm. So they're doing well, this year, and they're picking the Patriots, with the 4.5 points, I think, that it was when they made their pick. So that's why we do it, though. There's no matter what side you're on, there's always somebody that's picking on the other side, and that's the fun.
Yeah, and some of it may just be a gut feeling, or maybe you're a longtime Boston fan and you thought, it's their time.
Yeah, well, my weight on this one is I don't like the Cowboys, first of all. So for me to say that this is a pretty good bet, you know what I mean? I think that I'm just going to lean on, again, my analysis and say that I'm just being analytical and not emotional. Sometimes you don't find this out until later, but you see all these guys making picks on the show and stuff like that. And these guys, they're truly doing it for fun.
Right.
And a lot of times they do have allegiances for these teams. So you got a guy that's picking Green Bay, and you're like, why are you picking Green Bay? It's because he likes Green Bay. Right. So I'm truthfully, like I said, try to digest this information. And then as far as the free pick out of everything this week, that was the one that I gravitated toward.
I like it. And, we'll see if it pays off next week's show.
Cross your fingers.
So I want to remind everybody again that this is a Patreon exclusive show. Subscriptions start as little as $3 a month. So most cases you're winning, your money back, through 4 betting periods in a month. But if you are one of our free preview watchers or listeners, head over to patreon.com/youbetyourass and subscribe. It helps us out. It helps us keep putting this together. And it's one of those things, as much as we enjoy doing this, obviously we don't give away the information for free.
Yeah, it's like buying me a cheap beer, or us a cheap beer. It's really cheap beer. You buy me a $3 beer, I'm going to say, hey, I'll chip in $3 for a good one. Right. Thanks for going in halves with me.
And that's the thing. There's other sports betting shows out there that charge $50 a month for that same information.
Yeah. This is $3 for the whole entire month.
Yeah. And it's $5 if you want the video as well.
That's like a cup of coffee. Isn't that weird how a cup of coffee is more expensive?
But it depends on where you go.
Well,
McDonald's cup of coffee is pretty much
That's true.